Welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin Clevett. I'm out on site and I'm cladding again, and the cladding I'm using is thermo wood. This is the particular section, so you can see that it's quite contemporary. When you join it together, you've got a really nice sort of shadow gap there. It's square edged. It looks absolutely beautiful. Thermo wood is my go-to cladding. There's no chemical involved in its treatment. It's all done by steam. It makes it incredibly stable. It's got a really good service life, and it's about half the price of cedar. And as you can see, the colors there of that cladding that I've started on these three dormers is pretty good. So this video is all about a particular situation that you find when you're doing any kind of panel cladding, where you've got to consider things like window reveals, corners, and this is the best way of going about it. So I always start with a rod. That is a piece of timber, okay, in this case, and on my rod I've marked everything. I've got the width of the sides of the dormers there, either side of the windows. I've obviously got my centers. I can see where my corner's going to be and my window reveals are going to be, and that enables me to offer that up on another section of cladding that's completed and see how, when we get to the window, how it's going to run, because we've got to cut these down, the reveals, and they want to be exactly the same. But as we come across to one side of the reveal, what we need to do is reverse the boards, which means that I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to make a double grooved board. So the face side is exactly the same. It enables me then to turn one of the boards round and start cladding in the opposite direction, enabling me to get the rip that I need to cover the side reveal down the window. It's a bit of a mouthful without having to cut in and show in the groove on the other side. So this video is going to be about how I transition from going all in the same direction to switching them round with it looking exactly the same. So I've done the gables of these three dormers. There's another one on the front which I've done as well. And so if I take you to the center and we look, you can see that there's one more piece of cladding on the right hand side than there is on the left hand side. So it's that piece on the left hand side now which I'm going to remove the tongue and create another groove, and I'm doing that the same on all of the dormers. Of course, we set it all up as a kit. We cut all the cladding as sets downstairs, so there's no up and down. It's very straightforward for me to then just pin them on with the 15-degree cut at the bottom, which is the drip. So as the rain hits the cladding, it drips off nicely. And then we need to put the rips in. So the next piece of cladding on this side, on the right-hand side, is going to go all the way down and underneath the window and link up with the short pieces of cladding, which are going to go through there. So I'm going to go to the saw table now, and I'm going to make up enough pieces with the double tongue. And I think this is what I wanted to try and show you, really. This is what this video is all about. Oh, a cup of coffee, Callum. Nice. Right, so I've got the saw table around here at the front. Callum is building this house. You may have seen him in earlier videos. He's doing a fantastic job of it as well. He's like my most mature apprentice. So this is the table saw. This is set up here. Callum's going to be doing some work on the chopper over there. He's going to be making all the stuff for underneath the dormers up there. So they're all exactly the same, again with a 15-degree cut, because it acts as the drip. And I'm going to get on and put the double tongue on these cut boards. While Callum cuts all of the pieces to go underneath the dormers, what he's doing first is making a load of blanks with decent square ends on, and then he'll put a stop on. He'll put a stop on the saw, set it to 15 degrees, put them back in and cut them all so they'll all be exactly the same. It speeds things up. Callum's going to do 48 of those. So what he's got is a simple mark here, which is slightly over what we need. And every time he'll just run that up to there, no measuring involved. So it's measure just the once and just repeat the process. He'll always keep the face side or the back of the groove to the fence as well. So they're all exactly the same. It's just a really nice quick process. Meanwhile, I'm going to use the saw to actually put a double groove, okay? So I'm going to remove the tongue and create the groove, and I can do all of this with the saw. It's not the sort of thing you can really do with the router, because if you can see how deep that is, trying to find a cutter, even a one with a bearing on it, with that much depth is going to be expensive. So obviously with a table saw, you can do this. You can't really do it with the circular saw unless you clamp all the bits together like this, say 4 bits together, and then you use a fence and you run the cuts in to take out the stock. But again, it's just not so accurate as a saw. So with any table saw, you need to make sure that you've got a riving knife. And in the case of this saw, the new saw stop saw, the riving knife is the same height as the blade, which allows me to do rebate cuts and also grooves as well. Now I'm going to be passing the material through upright, so you've got to be careful. But once I've cut the tongue off to start with, I end up with a square shoulder. That square shoulder will allow me to do the groove. That section safely, because I can run straight over the top. And then once I've done that, I'll lower the blade and form the rebate. You can see that it's stepped back, and that's it. That'll give me the double tongue. So I'm going to get on, cut all of those up now, and then we're ready to fix those bits in, all the bits underneath the dormers, and then do the side reveals, which is a really nice job, because all of a sudden now we're using the cladding in the best possible way to get the cuts that we need. So these are the 4 pieces that we're going to be making. So we've already cut them. They're the right pieces of cladding. And I'm going to do it all in one go. So every time I put a cut on, I'll put it on all of the pieces. I've also got a piece here which is over the length I need to get the 4 short ones out of. It's a bit safer to do it as one long length. So that's the first thing. I'll be setting the saw up one by one for each cut, and then basically just going through it all. So you've got all your bits done, Callum?
Yep, all done.
Just ready to do that 15 degree cut on. All right, mate, so this is, I was telling you about the double tongue. Yeah, did you follow that?
I wasn't following it exactly, no, but yeah, go on.
So because when we get to the window reveal, let's take a bit of cladding. So you're always going to go in one direction, because the tongue dictates it by the groove. You've got to go either this way or this way.
Yeah.
And when we get to our window reveal, especially in our case, once we set out with the rod, if, for example, we carried on with the cladding, to get our reveal in would expose that, because we want our timber over the face of the reveal coming in this way, if you like.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to change that from a tongue to a groove, and that means then when we slide a piece of cladding in, we end up with enough solid stuff without that groove to make our front reveal. And it's things like that that really matter to me. So when you're cladding, I think everything should be central, set out as economically as possible to make sure you don't snooker yourself on the reveals. I'm going to set the saw up. The first thing I'll do is cut this and end up with a square edge. And it's no big deal. I'm just going to pop this against the fence and line the blade up with that shoulder just off. Yeah, just off there. Clamp that down. I'll do a little test cut. I'll just raise the blade slightly. Do a little test cut. Turn us on. I've got to plug us in first. Right, plug myself in. Yeah. This is quite clever. This saw's super intelligent. If you watch this when I turn it on, it's flashing now. And because of the saw stop technology, which saves a lot of fingers, once this stops flashing, it's done all of its checks, and it now says, I'm happy. It's ready to work. So I've got the blade set up just above for now. Get my push stick out here. Run them all through first, lose the tongue. That's the first job. Get my ear defenders on. Let's go. that's the first bit. Now let's quickly blow the saw off. Become fanatical about this. Okay, so now it's a matter of putting the overall grooves in. So we'll use this to work out the depth. I'll just drop that on top and I'll lower the blade down until we're sitting just into it. So you can see the blade slightly rocking there, but that means I know I'm going to be deep enough. The next thing I want to do is leave that on, pull over the fence, just gently offer it against it, okay? Clamp that off and just see if I can move through nice and gently. So that is the first cut effectively. So we're going to run everything with the face side always against there, and we're going to run it over the top. Okay, you can see there the margin of the blade and the shoulder. I'm happy with that. Square edge down. And we'll repeat that process now, dropping that back on, loosening off the fence and sliding it over until we're on the other side now. So now we're on the other side of the groove. You can see that there. That gives us a wide enough groove. So we'll repeat the process. Again, always keep the face side against the fence and we'll run that through.
So good, that dust extraction port, isn't it?
Huh?
Always impressed how good that dust extraction is on that. So
I know,
neat, such a neat pile that comes out.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hardly anything comes back through, and
Yeah.
I've got no suction on it. So now we've done that, the next job is the rebate, okay? So we need to remove this rebate. The same again, I'm going to lower the blade. I'm going to offer in the board so it hits the blade there. Ease over the fence. Keep it nice and parallel. There we go. And lock that off. So now what we've got is that, effectively. I'm going to give it a tiny bit more. Perfect. And then we just need to be to height. So you can see there that we're almost at height there. I'll just check it by cutting one through. Let's do it with this one. I'll just run it off. Now you can see it's forming both pieces. Increase it a tiny bit, I think. So now we've got a hybrid piece. We've got a piece with 2 grooves and the same face side. That enables me to put that in and change the direction of the cladding. I'll show you what I mean. Let's take 2 pieces. One there, one there. And now we're exactly the same. It just means that now I can use the piece with the most stock to get those reveal cuts without cutting it out from here and seeing that groove. So that's basically how we do it. So I'll make one up, I'll put a pair in, and I'll show you that in a minute. So yeah, all my bits are done and dusted now. Callum's actually doing the other cut. So Callum's got a stop there, which is now putting the blanks in, which have all got a perfect end, and he's putting a 15-degree cut on, which is the drip. So they'll sit up against the sill at the top where the stop is over there, and then the 15-degree cut is the rip, and they're all exactly the same, and they'll all be perfect when we put them up on the roof. So I'll just show you those 2 bits that I've put in. So there's one piece here and there's one piece above. Now it might not look any different to you, but if you look at the other end, there's a groove there and there's also a groove there. So when we started this with any cladding, all of the tongues and grooves are going to go in the same direction. So the middle 2 are center of the ridge. If I just point there, they're center of the ridge. And the reason why that is because when we set the rod out, we realized that that would give us the most amount of cladding at the corner. But if we'd have carried on with the tongue going this way, to get that side piece would have shown, when we ripped through the face, it would have shown all of this groove, which would have been no good. So that's why we changed direction. Now I could have started with one in the middle, which had a double tongue, if you like, or a double groove, and gone either way. It's the same difference. But why struggle up there when you can just put these 2 in here and change direction? So these 2 dormers now here next to us have now got these 2 equal reveals in, as have that dormer there. So you can see now it just looks like a mirror image of one another. We've got the same piece. If I offer a piece of cladding against this, on that side, because the tongue and the groove are right, I've got a lot of stock. But this side, if I'd have cut, let's turn it upside down. If I'd have tried to cut that reveal, it would have shown the groove. You would have seen the groove in the end of the board. So it's all about thinking, okay? And I often drive past lots of jobs that are being cladded, and it's almost like I think to myself, they haven't set that out, because you end up with all kinds of strange reveals either sides of windows. And I know if you've got a row of windows, things may not work out, but you can actually gain a few millimeters here and there just by opening a tongue up to get you where you need to be. And over, say, 30 rows of cladding, you can gain 30 mil in some cases just by opening up a millimeter. It's just about keeping your eye on it. So this one's also the same. And the key is, when we built these dormers, we built them as kits. We know that the outside of the OSB on the cheeks is exactly the same every time. When the window fitters come, we're really critical about them getting them dead central, because it makes a lot of difference to us, okay? Well, especially to me. And also keeping them nice and true. So you can see that the reveals are all parallel, running round. We've got the head reveal behind the 15-degree drip here. So the rain runs down and it can't go back. It just drips off onto the sill. We've got our parallel row through here with a 15-degree cut on there as well, straight over the flashing and away. So that's basically how I can change the direction of my cladding by adding an extra groove, taking the tongue off. And I just think that if you can think ahead, it can save a lot of aggravation. So if you're wondering, the cladding is called thermo wood. It's thermally treated, no chemical in it whatsoever. And it's my go-to cladding now. It's so reliable, very straight, very uniform. If you're interested and you want to look at this for cladding, if you check out my website, there is a link which gives you special rates, the rates that I get it for as well. The suppliers have kindly agreed to offer those rates on to my subscribers and followers So yeah, make sure you check it out. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll catch you again soon.